Welcome everybody. How are we doing tonight? Wait a minute. That sounds like the welcome one of those other professions would give. We are realtors. We're known to, look, we're drinking wine. We should say, like, you know, woo-hoo, go crazy. So, how are we doing tonight, everybody? Come on. Better. All right. Okay. You are in for a real treat. Oh, thank you, Anna, with the wine. This is beautiful. I want everybody to relax tonight and really enjoy this and take this in. So, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Marvin Alexander. I'm the president of Keller Williams Realty Centres, and very honored to be facilitating tonight. Here's a really cool thing. So I facilitated panels across North America, sometimes for as many as 10,000 people in the audience. And I tell them all the same thing I'm going to tell you. Objects at the front of the room are a lot taller than they actually appear. I want you to know. See, the joke's still new if people are not in our company. I know.
19 years.
19. It's consistency. That's what gets you the results in real estate. So,
Andrew, stand up beside him.
Not necessary. Andrew, remain in the back, my friend. So, if you look around, this is very interesting to me because we have realtors from all different brokerages here, from different locations even. It's a full house. I'm going to tell you it's going to be an action-packed couple of hours that we're going to be here. I'm going to introduce you to the panel. I'm going to give you a bit of a bio on everyone. And I'm going to start with Jennifer, because she's right here. This is Jennifer Clements, everybody. So I'm going to start with telling you that Jennifer actually, believe it or not, has a date with Bradley Cooper tonight. So she's leaving at 9 o'clock. No, I'm serious. She does. Her husband doesn't know. She was at one of those ladies' functions, and they were bidding on it, and she just kept yelling out. And then, so I think, no, but she actually, unfortunately, she's had a bit of a tragic thing she has to go to tonight at 9. So Jennifer will be leaving at 9, just so that you all know. It's not because she doesn't like the questions or anything like that. So let me give you a bit of a bio on Jennifer. So Jennifer is currently a top producer with ReMax Realtor right here in Newmarket. She's a Hall of Fame award winner and broker of record of ReMax Realtor Turnkey Realty Brokerage. We're doing okay so far? Awesome. She's consistently achieved the Platinum Award for ReMax, achieving the status in 2015, 2016, and 2017. Jennifer is also ranked in the top 2% for national sales at ReMax. Her approach to real estate is energetic and community-minded, and she prides herself on her straightforward approach to giving professional advice in the best interest of her clients. Jennifer donates a portion of every real estate transaction she does to the Children's Miracle Network, the Newmarket Food Pantry, and Belinda's Place. Jennifer is also a founding member of 100 Women Who Care. How did I do? Is that all right? I think that's an awesome. All right, thank you. Next we have Kate Carcone. So Kate's been licensed in real estate for nearly 10 years. Prior to real estate, she held a high rank with United Emirates Airlines in their special assignments and promotions department, catering to luxury clientele. She began her career in 2009 at ReMax Hallmark York Group in Aurora, and then joined Keller Williams Realty Centres earlier this year. Kate has earned numerous awards for her, from her previous brokerage, including ReMax Platinum Club, ReMax 100% Club, ReMax Executive Club, and the ReMax Hall of Fame. Kate's a member of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing as a guild member. Kate has a BA in Communications from London Metropolitan University in London, England. In 2013, Kate became a $1 million member of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. In 2017, Kate earned her negotiation certificate from Harvard Law School in Boston, Massachusetts. And her real estate designations include, there's a whole bunch of letters. I need to look some up. Yeah. It's like, well,
in real estate.
Her CLHMS. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds amazing. The Certified Luxury Home Marketing Specialist. Her ABR, which is Authorized Buyer Rep. CIPS, which is SIPS. I'm going to sip right through it and say Certified International Property Specialist, and her SRES, Senior Real Estate Specialist. Kate Carcone. All right. To Kate's immediate left is Kristina Clement from Coldwell Banker. Nice. So Kristina began her full-time career in real estate in 2012. She's a top producer with Coldwell Banker, the real estate center here in Newmarket. She's ranked in the top 10% of all Coldwell Banker agents around the globe. She is a certified member of the Global Luxury Specialists, a multiple international award winner, and a mentor to many new agents. Kristina has been featured in REM magazine, and she was one of 2 recipients in all of Canada You're in trouble, Marv.
Thank you.
Marvin Young, everybody.
Marvin Young.
Yeah.
The other Marvin.
Yeah. Kristina's been featured in REM magazine, and she was one of 2 recipients in all of Canada to receive the prestigious Coldwell Banker 30 Under 30 Award. She prides herself on building her business by being involved heavily in her community and is well known for her many charitable donations and initiatives. A portion of every one of her real estate transactions are donated back to various charities. Kristina, Clement. And last but not least, on my far left is Peggy Hill. Peg! Right. So Peggy's been helping families buy and sell real estate in Barrie and the surrounding areas for over 15 years. In 2010, Peggy decided to start her own independent brokerage, Peggy Hill Realty, and she grew that company from 2 agents to 12 agents very quickly. Peggy successfully catapulted that independent brokerage into becoming the 6th largest brokerage in Barrie in terms of market share, well up against all of the major brokerage brands. In 2012, Peggy merged forces with Keller Williams Experience Realty to become the Peggy Hill team at Keller Williams Experience Realty. Peggy has been consistently ranked as the #1 team in all of Canada for Keller Williams since joining in 2012. In addition, Peggy is consistently ranked as one of the top agents in the entire world for Keller Williams out of over 180,000 realtors globally for our company. Peggy is part of Gary Keller's elite mastermind group, and Peggy has been featured in numerous television, radio, and magazine publications. Peggy's been nominated by the Barrie Examiner as Woman of the Year numerous times and was featured as one of Good Life magazine's top women in business. Her team consistently is ranked amongst the top producers in not only Canada, but internationally as well by various real estate sources. Peggy Hill, everybody. All right. So, here's the cool thing about this. We're going to hear different ways of doing business, and some are going to resonate with where you are now, and some are going to resonate with where maybe you want to be. And what's really interesting, that a boy. When they say drop the mic, they don't literally mean drop the mic. Okay, so what's really interesting about this is it will show you that everybody has their own way. Everybody will find their own way to whatever success is for you. So whether you have aspirations of building a great big team, or whether you're content with being an individual agent with admin help or whatever, anything in between, that's okay. So we're going to take a look at it. So quite a list of credentials for the group. And before we get into all the questions that I have here, I know everyone's eager to hear them. I'd like each of you to explain a little bit about how your business is comprised, like how it's made up. And if applicable, what your team looks like. So not everybody has a team. And perhaps you can also touch on your production and any niche markets that you may serve. So I'm actually going to start with you, Kate. So a little bit about your business, how it's all set up, any kind of niche markets that you may serve, a bit about production, that sort of thing.
Okay. So I'm probably one of the newest additions here to Keller Williams. I came over from ReMax. I was there for 8 years. Was quite content there. At that point, I was independently working for myself. I had a licensed assistant. As far as production goes, I was pretty consecutive on the Platinum Club for ReMax. Really enjoyed what I did, and looked over at Keller Williams a couple times in the past, and realized or thought that there was opportunity for growth here. I'm in the midst of a brand change. Obviously, I'm new here, and one of the fortunate things about changing brokerages, and also using our market, which is a bit quieter at the moment, as an opportunity to sort of build. I'm in the midst of making a very big brand change, really heavily going after the luxury market, and building a business around that.
And that really is your niche market, right? I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to you next, Kristina. Tell us a little bit about your business and your background.
So I'm an agent at Coldwell Banker, and I'm here in Newmarket. I've been licensed, as you said, since 2012, but I would say probably I've really been heavily working for the last 4 years. I think maybe a lot of agents can relate when you first get your license. It's been intimidating to dive right into it. I took my time a little bit, and I think once I got a few deals under my belt, I got that drive that I think most of us get, and fully dived in and have been full-time since. And since doing that, most of my business has been referral, and I get questioned a lot being a younger agent about technology and online lead generating, and I have not done any of that. So,
Well done.
You know what, Jennifer, we have a lot in common, more than you know. Yeah.
Could be related.
Yes, yes.
In fact, like just awful. So just right now, I'm actually just in the process of launching a website that I'm not embarrassed to sign into. And so really, my business has been referral based. I haven't spent a lot of money on marketing. I haven't done any of the things I think we're taught to do. My business really is about where I am and what I'm comfortable doing. And because of that, I think I've grown a business I'm really proud of. I've also managed in those years to pop out 2 kids. And it's been a little crazy. So I think that's another thing that has been a challenge for me. And I'm really excited to be in this room with a lot of you because it's also a fun time for me to learn about systems and how to effectively grow my business and get it a little more organized. But I would say my business is all referral based, and being who I am has attracted similar clients.
It's awesome. And you know what's interesting about these panels? We talked about this a little bit yesterday. So you learn as much being in the room as you do being on a panel, believe it or not. And for me, it's always a great learning experience as well. So I'm quite certain that as we get into the questions, you're going to really see that and enjoy it. And I go to you, Jennifer.
All right,
Okay,
hot
hon.
seat.
Hot seat. There you go.
All right, so Jennifer Clements, and I got my license in 2013, so I just had my 5th anniversary in the business. I started with ReMax, Realtor was Omega back in the day. I have not strayed from that path. I have since become an incorporated broker of record, so I have my own brokerage and my own ReMax franchise, which is ReMax Realtor Turnkey. So that was an exciting and scary event in my world in 2016, but it's working out beautifully. I am an independent agent, and I have had one assistant, usually part-time, for a couple of years. I now have 2 assistants, and one of them is here tonight.
Nice.
And getting her license as well. So I don't have any licensed help, but I'm really looking forward to that. My business is entirely repeat and referral. So I transitioned into real estate from another sales career, from a network marketing career and a consulting career with KPMG. So this was it was more of a lateral move, and I had 3 boys. And so having 3 young children, one of the best things that has worked for me is just sphere of influence, being active in the community, and building my business through repeat and referral. So Buffini, for those of you who have heard of that system, I joined Buffini before I joined ReMax, and I haven't looked back. It's been a phenomenal situation. I've been, as Marvin said, a 3-time Platinum Award. This year my goal is Chairman's, and last year was Hall of Fame as well for ReMax. So it's been a really exciting 5 years, and this has been my best year ever. So market schmarket, it doesn't matter, just head down.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Good stuff. All right, Jennifer. All right, we're gonna walk down here. Oh, by the way, we need to do like the Family Feud. You know, like I'm Steve Harvey and I lean in, I get a little kiss. I'm like, what?
200.
Yeah, I'll take no kiss, Marv, for 200. Okay. I know. I don't. Peggy, my darling. Peggy Hill, you're gonna give me. Okay, I'll take it. Thank you. All right, so Peggy and I have known each other for quite some time. Peggy, tell them how your business is set up, what it looks like, transactionally, all of those things. I'm sure people are very eager to hear.
Okay, so we are set up. Last year we did 625 ends. Something like that. We grossed just over $6 million, which qualified us to be number 4 worldwide for Keller Williams, which is kind of like a huge deal for us, considering we're Canadian. And
You're a partner now.
Oh, sorry guys.
She said she was number 1 in the world for Keller Williams.
For the last 30 years.
Yeah, for the last 30 years. And she works part-time. In case you didn't hear that. Yeah, that's pretty much what I heard.
Okay. What I said was we are number 4 in the world. We earned just over 6 million GCI last year. And I'm very proud of that, not just because of the number, but because I represent Canada in that realm of. there are no other Canadians really up there, so to me it's a huge deal. Because we don't have the price points that California or San Francisco and
Right.
you know, so for us to be able to achieve that at a little, you know, Barry, it's a big deal for us. So yeah, I hold that with pride. We have a team, so working agents, we probably have 12 total, 18. 6 of them, I don't know what they do. They come in.
It's like this office.
Because I guarantee they're not even watching.
Some of them come in, they sit at a computer for a little while, make me think they still on the team. One of them's my husband, he's sitting
He's shaking his head.
I don't know. So the rest are admin, so we probably have a team of about 40. We're very admin heavy because we're very customer service oriented, so I'm sure we could run it with less, I don't know how. But that's kind of our goal and our focus, it's all about customer service, so we do have a lot of admin people. We carry a lot of listings, we have 124 listings as of this morning, which is a lot for us, because last year at this time, we were, you know, trying to keep 50 on the books, and it was hard. But that we, you know, it came with its challenges as well. Carrying that much inventory causes problems, so you have 124 whiny babies that are calling you every day, wanting to know why they don't have any showings, and why this picture is a little bit crooked, and that's why their house hasn't sold. So it comes with a lot of responsibility, and it comes, and you kind of need big shoulders, because there's a lot of people crying on them. Anyway, it is amazing. I started in real estate 15 years ago, and it just worked for me. I was always in restaurant industry prior to that. That was kind of my parents' passion, so I stayed with them until they were able to retire. And then I kind of did my thing. I started in real estate because somebody said I could make a lot of money, so I thought that sounded good. So business and people is really all I ever knew. So I knew to invest back into my business, and I think that's the one thing I can say that I've done more than the other people that I saw start around the same time I have, because, you know, they would be buying hot tubs and I would be like buying ads. So marketing is kind of my thing. That's where a lot of my business comes from. Of course, being in the business 15 years now, the referral is bigger than the marketing, but marketing is how we got here.
And you do a lot of radio advertising, that sort of thing. I know. By the way, you've never mentioned my name. And I really appreciate the odd plug once in a while. Okay, let's get right. I know, I'm very funny if you pay attention, Anna. That's how it goes. Okay, let's get right to it. I'm going to start with you, Jennifer, okay? So, I know a lot of people are brand new, or some people are brand new in the room, and maybe you've been asked this question before, but if you can go back to the beginning of your career, knowing exactly what you know now, what would you have done differently, Jennifer?
Well, going back to the beginning of my career, I think a lot of us get started and maybe think we can manage it all, and there's a lot comes at you, and I think we all realize as we get going that not everything's spread out nicely in this business. So what I would do differently is to get help a lot sooner. I very quickly realized I needed at least part-time administrative assistance. Through a networking group, I was able to identify a great, actually retiring ReMax assistant that was leading the business, and she came and helped me out, and I have found you can double your production by having somebody, because if we work like admin, we get paid like admin, so it's really important to have that extra help and be only touching the things that we need to be touching.
So, if I heard you correctly, you would be bringing on admin sooner. Is that a good way to put it?
More admin, more help, much sooner.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I'm going to go to you next, Kristina.
I think for me, it would be not being so intimidated. I strived to be successful. I had these big aspirations and dreams of being successful, but I was intimidated by the ones that were, and instead of asking for help and asking to maybe follow along and learn, I did everything by myself. So I didn't have any family or anybody in the business that I trusted. I didn't really know anybody in real estate, so I did everything by myself. And I think I wasted a good year and a half not diving into real estate, and once I did, I realized that I had, you know, great potential in this business, and I wasted a year and a half by not asking for help or looking in the right places for help.
Interesting. So, you know, a lot of people when they start, I always recommend that you ask a lot of great questions of a lot of great people, and then you take from that, you know, what you think is important or the right approach, you make it your own, right?
And once I did, and
Skyrocket,
I realized,
right?
you know, I got 2 deals right away, and then from there, it's history.
Pretty cool. All right, thank you. Kate, how about you?
I would have gone back to the beginning and realized that systems are really important. I had a very fortunate start. I like to say I just kind of fell backwards into some luck. I was licensed on a Monday and had my first listing on a Wednesday. And it
We all did, Kate.
Yeah, you're not alone.
We all did, yeah.
I prefaced that with just some really good luck, and all of a sudden I was in this horse race and just kept running.
Yeah.
You know, it sold at a multiple on the Monday, and I just kept running, and it was a year of we all do this. We get stuck in, you know, listing buyer, and we're all over the place. And it was a year in, and I went, wow, I really have to get organized here, and probably a year and a half in. So I think going back to the beginning, I would have taken the time to really dial in.
Implement systems
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, because part of this whole thing is being very organized, right? And now, with technology playing a part in things and people expecting responses so much quicker, all the more reason to have those systems in place. All right, Peggy.
So I think there's 2 things. The database being one of them. I didn't start off with a database. I would just write things down on paper and then find them in my shoe or wherever they were. I didn't know any better. I didn't come from a background of, you know, even admin type work. Like, I didn't know anything. I was flipping burgers, so they never taught you when you were behind that counter that databases mattered. Your clients just always showed up to you. So having a database was the one thing I think could have helped me get to where I was going a lot faster and a lot easier. It's not even the faster. It's not like I haven't done well, but it could have come with a lot less headaches if I had a database and all the wasted time I spent. So I truly believe that. And the other thing I truly believe, because when you start off and you just don't know what you don't know, I think I would have built it to maybe be the size it is now then. Because when you have to go back and start implementing things and changing things, like, it's just costs so much money and so many headaches. So if you're at all thinking that you're gonna grow this thing, grow it from the beginning. Don't wait till, you know, 3 years later to realize that you needed a better database, or, do you know what I'm saying? So I think you start with the end in mind and you work backwards.
Perfect. All right. How are we doing so far? Good?
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. Okay. Kristina, I'm going to you next.
Okay.
That's awesome. See, this is cool because, see, I got one of the things we talked about before the panel was, okay, you guys all gotta get along. And there's no mic hogging and all these rules. I didn't need them. This panel is phenomenal. Okay. What's been the biggest lesson that you've learned in your career? Pretty straightforward question.
Is understanding my clients better. In the beginning, you know, I just kind of followed what one person said, and it was, you follow up this way or you do this way. And now when I sit down and I really get to know my clients, I understand, do they prefer email? Do they prefer texting? Do they want me to pick up the phone and call them? And I didn't really understand my client. I was too focused on, this is what works, and this is how I'll do it. And I think that's really, really important, is to understand your client, because ultimately that's who you're working for and with.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing.
Cool. All right. Kate, how about you? Biggest lesson you've learned in your career?
Again, going back to the beginning, when I jumped into real estate, it was a phenomenal start.
Louder, Kate.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah. We can start now. Marion's here.
He just
Perfect.
came for the wine. He just came for the wine.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kate.
But I think the biggest lesson I've learned that was shared by my mother was to actually take regular intervals. When I say regular, that usually means twice a year for me, to step away and really sharpen my saw. And it's something that I'm committed to. I generally take one course outside of real estate, something that's related to real estate. As you mentioned, I've taken several courses on negotiation, and one real estate related course. And I find that it just gives me a different perspective when I come back, I feel fresh, I've got some new ideas, and 9 times out of 10 I've met some really great people, whether it be on a conference or a seminar, and I'm better as a person and I'm better for my clients.
All right, Peggy, biggest lesson in your career?
Cover your ass. Make sure.
RYA. By the way, there's no filter ever. Peggy, it's awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Take freaking notes and write them in your database and keep them forever. And don't ever try to be the big, great person and you've done everything right. I'll tell you a little story. I once was sued by a client, not my client, he was on the other end. And this is the kind of client that kept coming back and asking for stuff, like there was too much dog poop when he moved in, so I sent over to somebody to clean up the dog poop.
That's your husband.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know what he did that day.
Yeah. You know he did that day. Nice, okay.
And garbage in the front of the house, so I sent over a garbage man to pick that crap up. And he wasn't even my client, this was the other the buyer's client.
Right.
So then he sends me a letter and he says, well, this house doesn't back on DP and you said it did, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it backed onto agricultural, which backed onto EP. Bottom line is, I thought I was right. He wanted money. I thought I was right. So I rode my big horse, my white horse, into Rico, and they kicked me off it pretty quick. So always keep really, really good notes. Don't argue with people. If you think there's a way out of something, if you think you're gonna win in this business, you have to have really good documented notes.
Absolutely.
So always, 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 if I had to tell you one thing, I know it's not pretty piece of advice, but it's a solid piece of advice.
No, it's
because
practical.
We
Right.
hold a license and it's us against them, just FYI.
All right, I'm gonna go down here, you Jennifer. So same question. I'm doing the walkthrough.
All right.
I'm hoping that one of those, like, Family Feud kisses is gonna come out. So
Come here,
thank you,
Marvin.
Colin, for
Come here,
laughing at the
Come here,
joke.
Marvin.
How about you?
Colin was gonna kiss you.
I'll take
I
it.
was.
I'll take it.
It's a rough night.
The thing for me is to always have choice, and the reality of the situation is that if we only have one client or no clients, we have to work with whoever comes along, whether we want to or not. So if we are always keeping focused on the main thing, what's important now, just the face-to-face and voice-to-voice contacts, even in busy times, because it's a cyclical business and it's easy to get busy and distracted doing actually your listings and your buying and so on and so forth and your showings, but you really have to remember to just continue with the lead generating, because if we have choice, we can always work with great clients and we never have to work with people that maybe would not be the people we would choose to work with.
That's a
Oh,
cool
man.
perspective, isn't it, right?
Yeah.
So if you have B's and C's or C's and D's, it's gonna
Was
be
it?
a pretty tough
Take
go.
notes.
And I get when you start, maybe it starts like that, but
After.
build up to A and B clients. When you have choice, as Jennifer's saying, that makes a huge difference. So that's a really cool perspective. All right, look at that, see? I know.
I learned a few
And you
things in
drank
5
the
years.
wine,
I drank
and
the
see, and
wine.
you had the right answer. Number 4, all right, here we go.
Gold star.
Okay, yeah. All right, when it came to growing your business to where it is today, how did you break through certain ceilings or obstacles that you encountered in order to get to that next level of your business? So, quick Keller Williams thing. What is
This is-
what? This is
It's a Keller Williams
He's the chair of our social
Yeah.
committee, in case you
Ex-waitress, ex-waitress.
Okay, perfect. That 30-minute commercial was brought to you by Bree Honey. So, Keller Williams, we say, is moving from E to P, from an entrepreneurial to a purposeful style. So everybody has a certain level of talent, and then you hit this sort of ceiling, and there's you need to break through somehow. So when you were growing your business, I'm going to start with you, Kate. What was the biggest thing for you in terms of breaking through to the next level?
I think it really is to staff up. Like I say, when I defer back to my. Can you not hear me?
Yell.
Sorry.
She said me. She said Marvin's probably the biggest breakthrough I've had. If they don't hear, I'm making stuff up. Yeah, thank you, Jennifer.
Everyone gets to a certain level and then you plateau, and there's only so much time in the day, there's only so many deals you can do, there's only so many calls you can make and clients you can see. It really is about staffing up, and that never feels comfortable. I know I've had a licensed assistant, and it never feels comfortable to kind of jump beyond that, but I think once you get comfortable with knowing you've got another mouth to feed now, and knowing that they're going to take a huge weight off of you, and you can actually build more business, that's sort of the next level. So.
Okay, perfect. And Peggy, how about you? To break through the next level in your business, what was the biggest breakthrough for you?
Again, it's just people, right? So if you wanna make more money, you just hire more people, then you can't sleep at night because you gotta go to work the next day. And that really works.
Right? And you invested a lot in your business too, that was part of it,
I
right?
did.
Spending money on business, yeah.
I did. You reinvest in the business. I mean, I put all my commissions in for years and years and years, right back into the marketing, right back into, I was just so focused. And I knew what it took to survive. I had a little dinky little restaurant amongst a lot of really nice restaurants, so for me to survive, I knew what that would take. So I don't find the real estate any different. Somebody told me when I first joined that you had to get your phone to ring and to be successful in this business, so I just went and spent all this money making my phone ring. God help me on the other end, and stop ringing. But that is how you do it. You grow through people. There is no other way of doing it. If you don't have the people, you're not gonna grow, because you only have the bandwidth to do so much. And it's really, really difficult to let other people do shit for you. It's really hard. You don't wanna give it up, you don't wanna trust them, nobody can do it better than you can, but you've got to.
Alright, perfect, thank you. How about you, Jennifer?
Taking a page out of Kate's book, systems were the one thing, becoming duplicatable is the one thing that you need to do to grow beyond yourself. And even to grow to the point where you're getting past the level that you did last year or the year before. So I rejected all of those great project management tools and things that would be really helpful. I just thought I could have it all in my head for a long time, and I did. But in order to have assistance and in order for other people to help you and in order to maintain your standards and continue to put the client first and the service first, we implemented a project management tool called Asana. It's free, it's fabulous. You have templates in there. You can duplicate everything. You can have a template for each listing. You can have one for every client event. You can have all these great things, and it pops you reminders and it helps the whole team stay organized. We know what we need to do, when we need to do it, and so it's duplicatable. It's called Asana.
It's called Asana. So you like
Asana.com.
Asana, get me a glass of wine, and then Asana comes in with, is that how it works?
Just like that.
So
That app's called Breeze.
Oh, that's
How do you
pretty
spell
amazing.
it, Jennifer?
Asana. And truly, I did not choose it. My assistant was bright enough to keep bugging me until I agreed to try this thing. And eventually I realized she was smart and she was right, and it was a really good thing to be using, and we were all becoming more productive. So I had to give up my old ways and embrace technology, but it was fabulous. But any project management tool, just something that's a duplicatable system, was the way to go.
Excellent. Pretty interesting, huh? Kristina, how about you, man?
So I don't think I'm quite where you guys are at. I just hired my first assistant, so it's really new. I think I've still been trying to really get my hands on personal life, like I mentioned, family and business. So it's been a bit of a struggle, but to get to the next level for me was really focusing back in on the clients that I did have. So instead of finishing up with a deal and being excited and sending them a card and that's it, I really went back and said, okay, well, they gave me business, so I've got to treat them like really good friends, even if I've never met them before. And I mean this wholeheartedly. The people I work with generally have become friends of mine. So we meet for coffee and it has nothing to do with real estate. And once I started realizing this is where my business is coming from and this is who's trusting me, they're going to refer me. So I just heavily invested back into the people that have given me business. And once I started, investing back in them, my business kind of went to the next level every time.
That's awesome. And
The more you give, the more you
most
get back.
people are
Yeah,
guilty of
for
not
sure.
really, paying enough attention to your existing database. We'll chase the new people and spend countless dollars on that. But we have a whole group of people that are enamored with us and really would want to, recommend us and would love to receive our calls. So it's kind of cool that you're doing it that way. That's great. Okay, so at KW we often refer to something called your big why. So it's a tough business, it's a grueling business, we're on the go all the time. There's got to be a big reason, a big why. Like why do you do what you're doing? And so the question is, what were your goals or your big why when you started in real estate? And has that changed now versus then? So I'm going to start with you, Peggy. So your big why when you started in real estate, what's the big motivator for you?
So obviously things changed for me in the last 15 years, but when I first started, it was just very, very basic. I needed to feed my kids. So that was easy. That big why just was easy to know why you got up every morning. You had 3 kids, 2 elderly parents in your basement. and one paycheck coming from your husband. So how far was that going? So in the beginning, it was definitely very much getting up to make sure everybody was fed. But that starts changing after you get you get a little bit of money and you get more comfortable, and then now the kids are fed and their universities are paid for. So that why doesn't last. The why now is easy again, and it's funny because Marv asked that the other day. He had asked this question, and I'm like, I don't know my why. Of course, that's easy. So now I get up every day because I go to the office and watch 40 people's lives completely change. So my one young guy, his name's Jordan. He's a salesperson of mine. I've known the kid since grade 2. So he worked at Staples for 5 years and making whatever Staples pays. I mean, now he's got a new truck. He's just bought a house. And I watch my other agents buying investment properties and doing things, and I know that they're mimicking what I'm doing, and it fills me.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. So I gotta tell you, that's excellent. So I don't know if you noticed it, but I did, and it resonates with me because I have a similar story, as some people may know. And it really is still very emotional when you think back to how you started and what motivated you to do what you do, right? And then when you can go through an evolution where, okay, that stuff personally is kind of now okay, and now I get to help other people build their lives. It's extremely rewarding, right? Yeah, and when you're not focused on the money and you're focused on the people, trust me, the money will follow every time. And that's a perfect example of that. Thanks, Peggy. Okay, Kristina, going to you.
My big why. I'm going to be totally candid and honest. I was money driven. I had heard from somebody, if you want to be successful and you want to grow your network, buy real estate. So I was 21 and I bought my first house. And I had an awful experience with the realtor I was working with. I didn't know better. I didn't know that there was a lot of things that I should have been asked or I should have maybe have known. And once I started realizing, I thought I could do that. But I felt I was still too young, so I continued with what I was doing with this stream of getting into real estate to do it better than the service I received. And I had heard that you can make all this money, but I didn't realize that it was through buying and selling. I wanted to invest in property, and that's where I was coming from. And I had this dream of being a millionaire before I was 30, and I was going to do it with real estate, and I did. And I did that not from buying and selling. That money is separate. I had a goal of being a millionaire from owning my own real estate. And once I did that and realized all the ins and outs of real estate and the possibilities that could come from it, I thought I could teach this to other people. There's so many people that don't know enough about real estate and what you can do with real estate. Not only can I buy and sell, but I can educate people about home ownership. And once I got into it and I started getting the feel of helping and educating people, it turned into my why wasn't about me anymore. It was about people. And that's why my business it's not online, it's not lead generating, it is so heavily based on people and my relationships with people, because that's where I've gotten. And my why now every day is getting those emails and people that are far beyond my years and have bought and sold real estate for many years and have turned to me and said, you made this so much better than I thought.
It's very rewarding, right?
It is. It
awesome.
makes me get up every day and want to do what I do.
That's awesome. Thank you. How about you, Jennifer?
Well, I came from a network marketing career. I was, and prior to that, in consulting. So I was basically working the same hours as a realtor, selling educational toys, evenings and weekends, doing party plan. And you don't make a lot of commission when your biggest item is $15 to $25. So it occurred to me that, if I had an item with bigger commission, I could do a better job and I could make more money and I could still work the same crazy hours and maybe actually take some money home at the end of the week and not just earn toys, educational trips, and friends. So that's how I got started. But really, truly, when I was growing up, my grandparents each bought cottages in the Muskoka area and the Georgian Bay area, and they were $5,000 cottages back in the 1950s, and those have grown to be $1.5 and $2 million properties. And I realized at a very early age that the leverage and the equity that you could build up in real estate was a pretty amazing equalizer and a pretty awesome opportunity. And it just occurred to me that there's so many people that are missing that. And so it's really my passion. I do a lot of stuff regarding investment seminars. I work with people to help them find creative ways to become homeowners, and it's a passion of mine to help other people succeed and get the dream of home ownership.
That's awesome, thank you. How about you, Kate?
Well, looking back, I always knew I was headed for real estate. Obviously, I have a parent who's highly successful in the business and knew what I was jumping into very early on. I knew, probably much like the rest of us on this panel, that I really wanted to invest in real estate. And the whole investment aspect was very appealing to me. I too bought property very young. I had a goal through my teens to put money away, and I did, and I bought my first property very young. And have bought properties since, and probably much what you've just said, in that, you know, it feels good to share your knowledge with others. You know, it feels good to see others' dreams come true. You know, we deal with all kinds of people. We deal with people that are in wonderful circumstances, people that are in really tragic circumstances, and I think, you know, my previous experience in public relations and in customer service, it was a really good grounding for me to really learn how to really deliver a really good experience, because anyone can take someone from A to B, but really what they'll take away is the experience of that, and I'm really big on delivering on that. It's really important to me. You know, people won't really remember what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's just really important. So at this point now, for me, it keeps a roof over my head, which is wonderful. But I get a charge out of it. I love waking up every day and doing this. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. It thrills me. There's good days, there's bad days, but there's nothing else I would rather do.
Pretty cool. And there's a common thread in what they all said. I think you probably noticed that too, right? So it is really about helping people and putting their needs first. And as we said, the money will always follow. So thank you. Okay. Simple question. Maybe not such a simple answer. I'm gonna go with you first, Jennifer. How are you generating leads?
How am I generating leads? Well, as I said, I joined Buffini before I joined ReMax, and that was probably one of the best things I ever had to do, because I had a methodology and a system that worked for me right from the beginning, and it was very similar to how I've been running my network marketing business. I do a lot of face-to-face and voice-to-voice, but with my program, I only have to really touch base with about 25 people a week, and that gets me more than enough business to be successful. We do a lot of client events, client appreciation events. We've done mini putt this year already at the Cardinal Golf Club. We do a Thanksgiving pie party where everybody comes and receives their Halloween or their Thanksgiving pie, and they come to my home and we have a nice party. We do events in January. We've had a Hungry Brew, Hops, and Sociable Pub. So we do lots of big client appreciation events, bring everybody together. Also pop-buys. This one's for you, Marvin.
Thank you very much.
So
awesome.
all sorts of ways that we would like people to know that we're never too busy for their referrals. So keeping you and your referrals covered in the real estate market. We've got some sunscreen here that we like to drop in to people. And here we're always here to help your referrals have a clean real estate transaction. So we've got some wipes here. Here we're wishing everybody, celebrating you and your referrals, have a happy Canada Day. So lots of cheap and cheesy ways to touch base with people and always add value. So the key thing is to...
This cream is great.
Wait here, buddy.
Help me out.
I'll help you out. That's
This
the
is
thing.
like, this
There
is,
you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I use
We're
some of
good? We're
this?
good?
Yeah, it's lovely though. It's very nice.
There you go.
Oh, right on the leg. Okay.
Little leg cream. Sorry,
hand
I interrupt you. I have an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
And when it's like, it was like knock.
I was
and
gonna
had
help
to.
you.
You know what I mean?
Would you like a wipe?
I think that would be wonderful. This is so amazing. I'm gonna use this white, and this is great, yeah.
It's for the hands, not for the.
Oh, yes, I understand.
Okay.
Okay, no, but that's cool, and the client appreciation events go a long way,
They
right?
really do. We do closing gifts after every transaction. I do lots of client breakfasts and lunches, always popping by. So my goal is to get in front of 25 people a week, but that happens a lot through social interaction. I have a big sphere of influence through hockey, basketball, rugby, through 3 boys in 2 different schools. So just keeping in front of people and just having fun with it.
It's awesome, that's what you should do. Kristina, how about you?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, how are you generating leads? Sorry.
Okay, I think I've made it kind of clear that
You can just say just what I said.
I'm not very good at online lead generating, but I'm very heavily focused on my sphere of influence because I know that's what works for me. And I've learned that trying to do things that aren't comfortable, or that you know don't feel natural to you, maybe is not the best way for you to go. I'm all about learning and trying new things, but if it's not natural and I don't want to do it, again, referring back to maybe hiring somebody that can do that for you, which is something I've just done, is a good way. But I just go back to the people I've worked with, the people that already trust me, that I'm friends with. They refer me business, and I generate from them.
And I know you're active with charities too.
I am. I'm really big about giving back to my community, and again, I think that just makes people feel comfortable about who you are as a person, and they trust you right away when they know that they see how much you care about your community and other people. They immediately feel a trust in you.
That's
And
important. That's wonderful.
That's what's worked for me.
Perfect. Thank you. Kate, you're next. How are you generating leads?
Yes, I probably, very much like Kristina, I heavily work my database. I keep in regular contact with my database. I also am old school in that I send out the traditional newsletter. I do make it quite tailored to, specific Aurora versus sending Aurora client stats from the Toronto Real Estate Board, Toronto condos per se.
Excuse me, so the stats you send out, you make sure they're filtered to where they actually reside.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And again, I'm a big proponent of a handwritten card note. I think that was learned in the Buffini program I took way back when, and I still do practice that. I think it's an art form that unfortunately is lost in the new electronic world.
But it stands out in the new electronic world, right? Wouldn't you say? How many people here do handwritten notes to their clients? And how do you find it effective?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right? That's excellent. Cool. Anything else?
No, I think we'll get to that question, but I do send out quite a bit of email as well. It's just something that I've built into my day. And again, it's something that is usually specific to the client that I'm working with, whether it be now or someone that's going to transact in the next 3 months, or a current or an old client that might have a property that's come up 3 doors down, and I'll email them to say, hey, look, this has come up. I'll let you know when it's sold. Let you know what it looks like. And
Perfect. Cool. All right. How about you, Peggy? How are you generating leads? This should be an
How am I
interesting
not
list.
generating? Okay, so all that.
All that plus.
And then,
Yeah.
I have a lot of people to lead leads too. So my agents don't necessarily lead gen. They do different forms of lead gen. They are required to do 2 open houses so we can, that kind of stuff. But aside from that, we give a lot back to the community, back to the, so. And then there's TV, there's radio, there is the paper, there is Facebook. I buy leads from Sync. So it depends how big you want to
Hear that?
grow it.
Excuse me, Peggy. So from Sync, right? Okay, go ahead.
So, the one thing that is changing a little bit for us though, if I can tell you the one thing, so obviously we still do the radio, we still do the TV, and a lot of that is for brand recognition. Obviously we're trying to drive people back to the website to sell people's houses. I mean, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. However, we've tried to scale back a little bit on the marketing and pour it more into the database because we have such a large database. So I think if we scale the money differently, because we were looking at it last year, and it's like the bulk of our money was spent on these stupid leads, and it's like you have all these people that love you. If you have taken that money and spent it there, but it's a scary, scary line to cross because you're so used to the automatic, you need that lead coming in, that it's very difficult to then go back and stop because you don't want to stop the leads because you've got all these people waiting on you. But if I have learned one thing, because obviously I'm in a position where I can afford to buy leads now, I still think doing it this way is better than buying leads. Like I said, it just depends how big you want to grow, because if you want to grow it bigger than yourself, you're going to have to do both. Like you can only lead generate so much. You're going to have to do both, but it just depends what you want at the end of the day. However, I still believe that your database is king.
And on that note, if I recall correctly, your database is 15,000 people, is that right? 15,000. Anna, that's like Canadian, that's some serious stuff. You know what I'm saying? 15,000. Folks show. I would drop the mic, but because I own it, I don't drop it because then I
You'll
gotta
have to
buy a
buy
new
it.
one. It's not, yeah. We're a profit share company, and I can't do that. All right.
Sorry, just remember when we were checking with Chris later course, remember, and they said at that time you have maybe 400 or 800, I don't remember. And now it's 15,000. That was about 6 years ago or something.
Yeah, and again, you can grow it to whatever you want, right? Like, so my team was bigger last year than it is this year because I found a disconnect last year. I found that I didn't like it so much.
It was bigger before, you said.
It was bigger.
Yeah.
And I find now I don't want that. I've seen it and we can all have it. Like if you want it, go, if you want to be busier, go hire an agent, buy leads, be busy. Like I don't know that is exactly what you want, but you can do that. Like it's not hard. Real estate's not hard, you guys. You want to pour money into it, it'll bring some money back. But now, I think what I've learned is that I'm very connected to my business and I want to know all the listings, I want to know the name of all of my listings. It isn't even necessarily the sellers, but like driving down the road and you pass your sign, you don't even know how to go there. So, it just depends what you want. And for some people, that's really cool and awesome. I work with a young man, I don't know if anybody's heard of Mark Ferris. You might have heard of him. So Mark's not like me. Mark is on a bigger, he wants to go out and not know where all his signs are. So, it just depends what you want. And for me, I scaled back a little bit this year and maybe spent less on the leads and more on the database because I want to make the foundation a little bit stronger. Sometimes you gotta step back to go forward.
Perfect. Okay. Kristina, I'm going to you. I know you've been waiting for this question.
Go girl.
All right. What systems do you have in place to ensure that leads are followed efficiently and effectively?
Yeah, well done.
Go ahead.
Call and go get the red.
Yeah, fill her up on the red. No, we did talk a little.
No, but she promised she's getting one.
Yeah, but you, I think we talked about this a little bit. Now you have spreadsheets going on.
I
or?
do. Well, this is Mrs. Spreadsheet.
Yeah, we're gonna go. I know that's you.
She's
Kate,
gonna
yeah.
come over and
Yeah.
I'll check my spreadsheet. I think like a lot of people, if you're not super organized in the beginning, like I wasn't, I was just so lucky that they just kept coming and I just
Right.
kept one deal to the next, one deal to the next, and I was really lucky. That doesn't happen all the time. You gotta get your systems in place, and that's just something that I'm now realizing and focusing back on myself. I've mentioned more than once now, family life can be crazy and doesn't mean you have to have kids, but you can have all these outside things that do take up a lot of your time, and that's something that I've had at the same time as growing a business, and it's challenging for sure. And because of that, I don't have all the systems that I should have in place. And now I've got 2 kids in daycare, yay! And I can kind of focus back on myself and put those things in place and take things to the next level. So you guys can answer.
Yeah. Okay, well I'm gonna go to
I'll
Kate.
learn.
So Kate is the spreadsheet queen, I think. So Kate, why don't you talk about how you ensure leads are followed up on efficiently and effectively?
Okay, so the panel here, I know, got a good chuckle the other day when I went over my spreadsheet. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to spreadsheets.
Big
so
time.
I wasn't chuckling, I was drooling.
A little louder, Kate, a little louder. They want to hear about these spreadsheets. Tell them all about it.
I love Excel, and it's a wonderful program. It's easy. There's very little you have to do. For each listing I take, it has a spreadsheet, and on that spreadsheet will be anyone who's contacted me through MLS, anyone who's contacted me through my website, anyone who's called through the front desk, and it will list their name, their email address, their phone number, the date that they came through. There'll be a separate spreadsheet for open houses. I'll know exactly who came through the open house, on what day, and it just keeps, so for each listing, it's 2 spreadsheets. It sounds like a lot, but it's so easy. And it just means that going forward, you have record of everything and everyone who's contacted you on that listing. Now, that person might get put into my database if we create a back and forth and I decide they're not working with an agent, they want to work with me, I want to work with them, then great. But it just, does keep a very accurate record of everyone that's been through, and I know what's been followed up on, you know, as far as, have they been called, have they, you know, do they wanna come back for a second showing? It's the easiest system. It sounds complicated, it's easy, and your life will become so much simpler.
So before joining Keller Williams, how many spreadsheets did you have to make that decision is what? Man, it must have been spreadsheets everywhere. And that decision making, I can only imagine. Okay, Peggy, you gotta have fun with it. Peggy, I'm going to you. Okay, so following up on leads, that's a big machine, right? So what are you doing to do that?
So, we have 3 inside salespeople that constantly are calling our database, so we're not much, we have a lot of incoming, we're not so much on the outgoing. If we're calling, it's because they've called us first. So, as you can very well imagine, and it sounds so amazing to have 15,000 leads in your database, but that can be your worst thing as well, because you've got to follow up on all these things. The last thing you want is for somebody to say, oh yeah, I tried to call you, but nobody got back to me.
Right.
And that can happen really easy. So we have 3 inside salespeople that obviously work the leads, and then we have 1 fully salaried person that is the database police. And
Excuse me, say that again?
database police.
Database police, that's interesting.
So she'll go in and
She's scary?
a little bit.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
And they don't work on commission, they don't work on anything, all they're doing is going in there monitoring the leads. If my agents haven't set a next task, if they haven't followed up with the lead, they lose the leads, like, so they'll take them away from them. No questions asked, like, we'll make an announcement, say you've got 6 hours, anything you don't want, don't touch it, otherwise it's gonna be gone. So, a lot of times they'll be like, where did that go, why did you take that? And it's like, well, you didn't do anything with it. So, if it doesn't have a next task, it's gone. If you're not following up with it, it's gone. So, so that's how we do it. And again, it sucks that you have to have a fully salaried person to monitor the database, but you really do. You absolutely do, because those leads, I could make more money off 1 person monitoring that database than a person calling all day long. Because it's that 1 or 2 that get missed that are the diamonds in the shell.
And they may tell 10 people that.
That's the problem.
Right.
Like, we do not want that to ever happen, and that's why I always say to people, before you get busy, you better damn well have all your systems in place, because it's not hard to get busy. It's hard to get unbusy. It's not hard to get busy. So if you don't have all of your stuff going and the foundation laid, like, it's gonna be a problem.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, how do you follow up efficiently and effectively on your leads?
On my leads. Well, the way I do the business, I don't have as many leads that I have to follow up on. Some people go directly to becoming clients. The great thing about repeat and referral business is sometimes they just are clients before they're really leads, because you're being referred to great people and you can just walk in and put your sign on their lawn. So a lot of times, just continuing, what I do is really keep, just like Kristina was saying, keep in touch with a lot of the people in my database constantly throughout the year. We're doing, through Buffini, I'm doing a mailed newsletter to my 100 top clients. I'm doing handwritten note cards. I'm doing my pop buys and my client appreciation events. So really, my farm is in my database already. So that's really one of the ways that I'm keeping in touch with the people that are out there, and just that's pretty much it.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'll go with you, Kate, that you want to add about how you keep in touch with your database? You talk to me about your top 10 or something. What is that?
Oh yeah.
Well, I think what you're referring to is, so I have a spreadsheet for each. I all know that. I also keep a spreadsheet for, I call it the hot sheet, and it's, I've got the hot sheet 2018. And I go into the year knowing, because generally most of us go into a year knowing who's gonna transact. We've already made the calls late in October, November. We know who's looking to move. We know who's doing what. I keep an itemized spreadsheet of each individual. First column on that spreadsheet is buy, sell, because some of them are looking to buy and sell. Some of them are looking to sell only. They're moving up to Collingwood. Some are looking to buy. They might have a they might have a son or daughter who's looking to buy. So I know right away by looking at the first column who's a buyer, who's a seller, who's both. I have their name, most importantly, I have their email. So I have them listed, it sounds callous, but I have them listed according to who's probably gonna transact first. So I've got that all itemized, and I look at that sheet every day. Every day I look at that sheet, because every day we get new listings, and every day I've got the 4 columns. I look to see what are the new listings. It's one of the things I embed before I go to sleep every night. Is there any great new listings out there I can send to my clients? Bang, they're out there. And it's easy. And once it becomes a habit, it's easy.
Yeah.
I have a top 10 list as well, and my database is organized into tabs, so it's organized into active, potential, pending, closed, all of those things. So just knowing who the next 10 or 15 people are that you're going to be doing business with this month, so that those are the priorities that you keep in touch with, and I just keep that updated. So I have a group of top 10 or a group of top 15, and those are always the people that we're in touch with first.
Yes, you said that to me. That's kind of cool. And I think, Peggy, you have a hot sheet too, right? How does that work for you?
Well, a lot, so the hot sheets are in the CRM, and same idea. Like, those are the people that we drip on. Like, we have so many different categories of people, and different times they're contacted. But as they get warmer, obviously, then you get more contact.
And Kristina, you're about pop buys, I think, and handwritten notes, right? So.
Yes, so that's also something from Bikini I had heard early on. I didn't think, of course, that I had heard somebody mention that, and I thought, wow, that's so personal. I love that. How often do we open something in the mail that's not a bill? Never. So I thought, what a great thing, and I started getting people writing me back, and I just thought, this is so nice, because to sit down and put the time in, and for them to do it back, you're creating something, and without even really, picking up your phone or doing all these things that people do. How quick is it to write an email? I stop at the parking lot, I shoot an email quick. They write it back. But when they sit down and they've written something back to you, you've created something so much more. And that was one thing that I started doing, and I started getting back. And the pop-ins, the visits, like I said, I just really nurture the people that have trusted me, and they have not only just that I sold my home and I used Kristina, she was great, they go into detail about what I did and how I've become their friend, or I went to Kristina's house for a swim, or, they talk about me as if I'm their friend, which all of a sudden I'm somebody, I'm not just a real estate agent. And so that's what I've been focusing on.
It's interesting you say that. So I tell people all the time that you shouldn't be afraid to let, whatever your comfort level is, but to let people into your world a little bit. Because then you become more than just some salesperson or just a real estate agent. You become a human being that they can relate to. So when you let them into your world a little bit, guess what happens? They really open up, right? And you probably have seen that throughout your career as well.
For sure, but I think I do think though that there's a line there too, depending
For sure,
on
level of comfort and all
level
those
of
things.
comfort, and also where do you want to be. We're so opposite in the sense of she's got this incredibly huge team, and could you imagine her inviting everybody to her house for
I gotta say, I've never been invited. I keep circling the neighborhood. Slow down. Like, hey, that she waves, but there's get inside quick. Get inside quick. He's circling again. It happens a lot to me. It's terrible.
But that works for you now. Will that work in 3 years from now? Who knows?
But you know
Depends where
what?
you want
That's
your business
okay
to
though,
be.
because in business, and just like this real estate company, the things that got you to where you were in terms of systems or techniques are not necessarily the same things that take you to the next level. So you have to continually reinvent what you're doing and reanalyze what you do. Whether you're a single realtor, or whether you have a team, or you have an office, or whatever, it's the exact same thing. Okay, covered that one. Paid leads. Some people do it, some people don't. I think you'd be interested to find out what you're using and how it works. Let's start with you, Peggy.
The leads I pay for, I buy from Commissions Inc. I do buy leads from them. I buy leads from, Facebook, Boost Posts, obviously, we do a lot of those. I think those are my 2 major ones where I spend a lot of money. The rest is just, the difference when you market, so that's the difference between lead gen and marketing. So when you're lead genning, you're picking up the phone all the time, right? But when you're marketing, you're putting your name out there so the phone will ring. So because of the TV and the radio and what have you, it just depends how you want to do business. That was my comfort level because I was used to being in the restaurant behind a counter. That's what I wanted. I wanted people to come to me. I didn't like going to them. So marketing, people will call you, so we got a lot of inbound calls. So we always ask, how did you hear about us? And it's usually radio, TV, paper, my brother, or whatever. But that is, so in a way, that is lead gen. Or those are paid leads, because it's not free to be on the radio, it's not free to be on TV,
Oh,
so.
I'm sure they are. Okay, cool. How about you, Jennifer?
Is that a question actually?
Sorry, this question?
Do you have somebody who is calling every day to your database?
Yes.
15,000?
Yes, 3 people.
So 3 people. The question
But
was,
only database.
do you have people just calling your database? And his answer was yes, 3 people
Yes.
that call daily.
Do they also call your sync leads?
Yes, 2 of them do. Not
So
all
the other
of them.
question was, do they also call your sync leads? The
Yeah.
answer is 2 out of 3 do. Agreed?
How frequent were your radio ads?
I don't know, it sounds like about every 15 seconds if you don't
Yeah.
mind. Yeah. That would be my answer to that question.
So the one thing I did with radio, and a lot of people thought I was crazy, but back in the day, 10 years ago, I got a jingle, and that jingle has stuck. And
My wife sings it all the time, it upsets me.
I have realtors that sing my jingle, so once you get brand recognition like that, it pays back.
You wanna sing it now for us? Go
Colin
ahead, you
does.
I'll find it for you.
can do it. You're not gonna sing that now?
He better know how to sing it.
He's doing the big, I'm taking a hard pass.
Yeah,
Sing
I'm
it
taking a
now.
hard
I
pass.
saw that.
So yeah, sorry for this one.
Okay, now it's about paid
That's why you
lead.
gave me one.
Yeah, just keep drinking, it's awesome.
Alright.
No, you talked about your.
You need one?
Where's Bree?
And how often on the radio? Like, it's every day. Right now, it's every day. I'm with a different company now. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of them. They're with Rate, and it's this thing with Barb from the Shark Tank.
Yeah, Corcoran.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
you on TV.
Yes, so that's why I'm on TV and radio. I'm working with them right now, so a lot of so it's daily.
So, and when you started it though, like how frequent was it and how long did it take you to build it up?
Look, Vanna White with the
So,
wine.
okay.
These answers are gonna get a lot more open.
People ask me about radio all the time, and I've known a lot of people that have done radio, and here's what they do. They start doing radio, they do it a couple of times, they do it for 3 months, because it's not cheap, it's expensive. But again, if you want it to work, you're gonna have to wait it out, and you have to do something like a jingle, like something catchy, not necessarily a jingle, but something that's gonna stay with somebody. But if you're not prepared to give it, a year, 2 years, don't do it, because it's not immediate. The gratification isn't immediate, it's not like a paid lead that comes to you right away.
Yeah, you know, that kind of marketing of your services, it does take time. It's kind of like when you go to a store or a restaurant, you're like, oh my God, you're awesome, how long have you been here? And they say, 2 or 3 years, right? So it does take a little bit of time to get that recognition. By the way, there's people in the back right now working out their own jingles. I can only imagine what they're writing back there. I can see Andrew right now, yeah, they're smiling. Okay, how about you, Jennifer? I'm gonna repeat the question for you. So, paid leads, what's working for you? What are you investing in?
You know what, I'm investing basically the money into my current database and client appreciation events, so I don't actually do any paid leads or paid advertising, I don't buy any online anything, but my marketing budget is entirely based on client appreciation parties and just looking after the people that I have, closing gifts, so we do a lot to appreciate the people that have bought and sold with us.
That's great, and that's working for you.
How many people do you have in your database?
I
So the
have,
question, I'm gonna repeat it, just so you can all hear.
Yes.
So the question is, how many people do you have in your database?
Without paying for leads?
Yeah,
yes,
just,
I now have 500, so maybe about 100 a year, I guess you could average growing, because you start off with your list of 100 when you get in the business, and you can grow it every year. It starts to grow more exponentially after your volume of business picks up.
okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. What about you, Kristina? Paid leads, you doing anything like that?
So paid leads, I tried, I think Peggy said it really well, is there's a difference between lead gen and marketing. So I tried getting into Facebook ads and follow-up. I realized very quickly it wasn't for me. I will make the immediate phone calls as soon as I get them, but I'm not gonna call 10 times. I'm not gonna email and call, I just won't. I'm not good at it, I don't wanna do it, and that's very apparent. So I was getting these leads and doing nothing with them. So I switched marketing over to, and I paid someone else to do it because I also know that I'm not good at marketing. I'm good with people. I'm not good at online, I'm technology stupid, so I hired a company and they do it for me. So I have a company, if I get a new listing, I send my information, I send what I want.
What's the name of the company again?
Just Sell Homes.
Okay, hang on. Are you guys hearing that in the back? There's a bit of disruption right now. Okay,
Why?
we got a wine service going on. I don't know what's going on.
I think I started
It's
that.
kind of a whole disruption. Okay, so Just Sell Homes is the service that you're using.
Yeah.
And explain again, because I'm not sure they hear. I want them to hear the back again. So tell me how that works. Just Sell Homes.
So Just Sell Homes is a company, I actually went to school with the founder, and he used to be a selling agent. He worked actually at ReMax, and then he started his own company, and he's done really well. But what he does is he does lead generating. So I realized I don't so much want that because I was getting all these leads, and as I mentioned, I wasn't doing the proper follow-up 10 times. I'm just not going to, so they were wasted. But what I realized I did like was getting my stuff out there and having him advertise it for me properly to the right people. And ultimately what I'm trying to do is sell the listings I have, is not pick up new leads. If they come, fantastic. If I meet you at my open house, great. I'm not gonna call you 10 times, I know I won't. But what I do is I market the property. And so now I've got, depending on the property and what I'm doing, is I'll have him market it either as a lead gen or just as a marketing tool. So
And that probably leads to other listings, right? Because
For
people are
sure.
seeing the way that you're marketing their
So,
property.
and again, that goes back to meeting people more face to face and being more involved with people and face to face for me. I meet neighbors, they see how I've marketed, how I've done things, how I treat them at the open house, and I've gotten a lot of business from that.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, and how about you, Kate?
Okay, I don't pay for leads per se. My former company, ReMax, used to have a sort of online lead generating it's called Lead Street. I had minimal success when I got those inbounds, so I've never really felt the need to go out and buy leads. I do subscribe to a service, AdWorks, and I don't pretend, much like yourself, I don't really pretend to know much about Facebook or all the other applications out there. I'd rather just have someone else handle that, so I let someone else drive that. I just cut them a check.
Cool,
Yeah.
okay.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, sure, Peggy.
Just if anybody's buying or having other people call their database, or just calling in general, it's not a bad model, because to have people working in your office is expensive, because then you've got all their payrolls, and then you've got your source deductions. The only thing I caution you is if you do that,
She said,
She said doo-doo.
Yeah, do. Don't worry.
We said doo-doo.
be very careful, because you have to make sure that they are using the do not call registry, and they have to be with you, with your do not call registry. Even if you hire a company and they're making the calls and you're not involved and you're writing a
You're
check,
still subject to that fine, yeah?
you are subject to that fine.
Mhm.
It's happened to somebody I know, so I tell as many people as I can, because they don't educate us on this stuff, they don't tell us any of this stuff, and they wait till we get in trouble and then they bring it up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But if you've got another company doing your lead gen, make sure they're using the do not call list or the do not call list registry, because you will be fined. They don't care about the company, they will come after you.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I think you're gonna find this next question interesting. So, we're gonna talk to someone running a really big team, people running very successful businesses in a different kind of model, but I think you're gonna find the answer really interesting. You ready? Because I already know the answer, that's why. Okay, so whether you're running a big team, or you're a high-producing single agent with admin or whatever, what's the biggest challenge you face in your business? I hope I'm gonna get the same answer that I have on the paper. Okay, I'm gonna go to you first. Okay, so biggest challenge you have in your business, Jennifer?
I think the biggest challenge has a lot to do with time and people.
Yes.
Yeah. It's always time. Time is a tough commodity in this business. Trying to be a parent, trying to be, all the things we are in life, run a business, and give back to the community and so on. So just hiring additional support, having that extra help is a big factor, and having the right people in place so that I'm only touching the things I need to be touching is probably the biggest factor.
All right, time management, right? Okay. Kristina, how about you?
Same thing, time.
Oh,
I
look
think-
at that. 2 for 2.
I think everybody can relate to that. There's just not enough time in the day. So going back to some things like getting good systems in place or being very routine in what you're doing. And for me, I found, especially with young kids and a busy job, that the night before I try to schedule or kind of figure out what my day is going to look like the next morning so that I can be a little bit prepared. But finding time to get it all in is impossible.
Sounds right.
It is.
I know, I get it. And how about you, Kate?
Time, definitely. The biggest challenge I have is just managing time. There's never enough of it, so it's just knowing what needs to be addressed immediately, and not dropping the ball on those things that, also need to be managed.
Yeah. I know you're gonna say trying to find time for commercials, and fitting all those, but for you, Peggy, how about you? Is it also time?
It started with time, and it became people, because in order to gain any time, you have to hire people, and you have to manage people, and it's not necessarily everyone's strength. It certainly wasn't mine. It certainly wasn't something I was used to. So in order to gain some time, I had to hire people, and so now it's people. But for the time.
Right. So, right.
Good one.
But here's something that's very interesting, right? In real estate, I find, I've been in real estate for 25 years locally, and what I find is that, or what I found, I guess, is that initially people would have this big facade, put up this big defense of how amazing everything is. So what I loved so much about getting to know everybody on the panel a bit better is, there's none of that. You're hearing it real. Man, everyone has the same stuff going on. We have to deal with family stuff. We have to deal with kids. We deal with money. We have to deal with juggling time. It's just real. So I have never facilitated a panel where it's so real. We can actually just drink wine, which has never happened, which is awesome. Yes, that's right. I don't know where the camera is, but there's somewhere. And really be just open and honest about, look, it is difficult to juggle time. So yes, we have immense rewards in our industry, no doubt about that. But we do make sacrifices in terms of time. But the one thing I can tell you from personal experience is the one thing you don't want to do is sacrifice so much of your family time that it all turns out for nothing, right? So you have to always make sure you make time for yourself and you make time for your family. Do you have something?
I don't know if you're going to come back to this, but while we're on the subject of time, I know that a lot of agents, I've talked to a lot of big agents, are starting to time block certain things and be like, okay, I only answer emails between 9 and 10:30 and 6 and 7 or whatever it is. And do any of you do that? Have you ever had any success of it?
Good question.
Do you tell people, I'm not can I answer any emails between the hours of this and this or whatever?
Do you do that, Jennifer?
It's a really good question. You know what? I'm pretty sure I'm like part ADD, so no, I would love to be able to do that. So I really would. And every morning starts off where I'm determined to have that kind of structure and organization. Maybe this is a question for Kate.
Kate?
She'll check her spreadsheet.
Well played. Kate, how about you? On the spreadsheet, do you say to them, look,
Spreadsheet done.
No, I'm terrible at managing time. The only time I take for myself is I have a morning run. It's usually about 6 to 6:30, and that's my time. Some people meditate, some people spend time with kids. I don't have children, so for me that half an hour is really my time on the treadmill just to get everything out of my head and get into my day. Apart from that, I'm really bad at managing time. The only time block I will say, Andrew, that I do take is generally 3 o'clock on a Saturday to about 10 o'clock on a Sunday, unless you have an offer and it's a really good one. You're not going to be gone. That's my time. That's the only time in the week that I actually take, and I have dinner with someone, and that's my time. But outside of that, I'm really bad. Really bad.
Does anybody do what Andrew asked? Does anybody?
Time block?
Yeah.
I would love to tell you that I do that. I am a workaholic, and I'm here to tell you this. I also found out that it's okay to do that. Gary Keller told me. He said, Gary Keller says there is no such thing as balance, and anybody that's striving for
Jennifer, plug your ears.
There's no such thing. So time blocking is great to get more things done, not to get less done.
I think it's a good idea. I think we're all like the duck, calm on top and paddling like crazy.
Yeah.
But I think we also have a certain personality. If you're the personality that has to be sort of like hands-on, it's so hard to time block. You just have to
for sure.
be on top of it right there, right
Deadlines.
then, so.
You can work
And
really well to
it's the
deadlines.
momentum that gets you going, so.
That's right.
For sure. And Anna, what do you
I
got?
have a question to all four of you.
Say it nice and loud,
I
Anna.
have a question to all four of you. Honest answer, please. Do you all plan do you have your monthly planning and weekly planning?
Do you plan for the month and the week?
Business plan?
People put stuff in my calendar
See
all
you
the
people
time.
planning for you, yeah.
I just I open it up and I do whatever it says there all day. I very rarely know what I'm doing
I
from
can
day to
relate
day.
today. It's, I got you.
People just put stuff in my calendar.
I have this whiteout thing, and I keep taking it out, and then stuff keeps, I don't even know how it happens.
So
It's there.
the only two things that are non-negotiable in my calendar are I have to take my dad to the doctor July 5th and 10th, and I know those 2 days are booked, and I had to be here tonight. So if this is time blocking, I'm here time blocking, because I haven't even touched my phone more than twice.
It's pretty amazing, actually. I forgot to tell everybody to give it a big kiss goodbye and put it away for the night. So interesting. Anybody else on
I
that?
was gonna just add to that, because I have a business coach now who's really changed things around for me a lot, because I do struggle with all of these things and struggling to get to the deadline. I work really well under pressure, so, but you can't work like that all the time. So her methodology for me is I need to touch base with 25 people, and if I can do that on the first day or the second day or whatever, I've done my work for the week, and then everything else is just gravy and filler. So I have now a win the week chart that I have, and I break my 25 down into the people that I call, the people I send notes to, the social interactions, the business to business meetings, clients, breakfasts and lunches, did I say calls? So whatever it is, I have them all on the list, social media posts. So the things, like the non-negotiable things, I've just actually printed myself off. I keep it on the computer, I print one every week, and it just has blanks for all of those things, even working out. Like if it doesn't get on there, I'm not gonna go for a walk, I'm not gonna get to yoga, I won't get to whatever. So I actually have the bare bones minimum on this piece of paper, and it just reminds me every day throughout the day what to check back in on, so that when I have a block of half an hour and I can squeeze in another 15 minutes, I can look and see who can I call, who could I write to, when do I wanna do these things. I try to do the calls and the social interactions during business hours, try to do my notes in the evenings. I have learned a lot about paid time versus not paid time. When you hire an assistant, you really want to use that time to make sure that you're doing business generating, income generating activities while somebody else is working for you, and use the downtime to do other things that need to get put into your calendar.
And I'm gonna go on that note. Sorry,
Yes,
Anna.
the only reason I ask you this question, because every course we go, they tell us the only success you build when you have your weekly plan, monthly plan, yearly plan. And that's why I wanted to hear from the very successful women.
We snuck in the back door, I guess.
Or you break down the
All
door.
right, I'm gonna move us along in the interest of time. So we're talking about hiring. So when you're hiring a member of your team or admin, how do you go about selecting that individual? So Kristina, how about you?
So I just, very, very new, just hired an assistant. I can do everything by myself, which, once you start juggling everything, you realize something's gotta give, and eventually some will, and it will eventually become your business. It always will. So I just hired an assistant, and I found him through a friend.
Okay.
And she is the complete opposite of me. Loves the computer, loves technology, which is just so different than me, and it's been really great. It's still very new, but I can already feel like the tension just being, the stress on my shoulders is just being relieved already.
That's awesome. Okay. I'm gonna go to Jennifer just before you have to go, because I know you have to leave. So how about you? Hiring.
A lot of good things happen by referral. So again, all my assistants have come by referral, and I've been really successful that way. One of my assistants came from my hockey team. We play hockey together. But I think putting it out to the universe, what do you need? Make sure people understand what you need, and being very clear on what you're looking for. So the most important thing is to be having the right person in place that can do the things you're looking for. So having a clear understanding of what you need that person to do, what the job description looks like, and when you want them to be able to do it. All of those things are important to set expectations up front. So just having a strong foundation and then putting the word out there, because you often can attract the right person.
Excellent. And Kate, you for hiring an assistant?
Yeah, I probably agree with.
Just a little something to say thank you so much for your time and for all of your knowledge and your wisdom and willingness to share. Just want to say thank you so much. Thank you very much. Check this out. Got myself a panel chair. I might just frequent that on occasion. Is that okay, Kate? I know you're saying keep your hands on the table. I understand. Okay. I know. If you listen, I'm funny, but nobody ever listens. Okay. So Dan, we just did.
So
Kate, yes, that's where we're going with this one.
I would build on everything that Jennifer had just said. For me, I'm very careful about the right personality fit. Everyone comes with their own personality, good, bad, otherwise, and sometimes you can have two really amazing people, but those personalities just don't gel well for whatever reason. And I think if you get that wrong sort of batter in the mixture, it's going to create a really tough environment for both parties. So I think it's really about finding the right fit for you.
Sure, there's some Keller Williams systems which we've seen that show the real cost of a bad hire, right? When you work out all the, it's incredible. Peggy, so when you're hiring either a member of your team or an assistant, what systems do you use?
So a lot of times we start by referral, much like everybody else. However, they have to meet other criteria as well. Like we wouldn't hire without doing the disc. We don't normally hire without the KPA being done as well. And the disc is a big one for us, just because it depends. Like if I'm hiring an agent and they're like a 99C and a 2I, I'm not hiring that agent.
Okay, I'm gonna interpret for a lot of people, okay? Because sometimes we have a bit of our own language. Okay, so DISC and KPA especially is a proprietary hiring course, if you will, an assessment that we have here. So the concept is, so DISC is a bit more common. It's not just to Keller Williams. So the 4 vectors that people have, so D is somebody's dominance, their drive, give me the answer now, give it to me quick, right? Somebody who leads with their I is very interpersonal, very influential. Hey, how you doing? Touchy-feely, all that stuff, right? Hi, yes, will make a great administrator, somebody that wants to be, helpful, subservient. They were a puppy, they'd be a golden retriever. And a high C is somebody who's very attention to detail. An accountant would be a good example. So we all have these different parts of our personalities within us, but we lead with different parts. And the interesting thing about the DISC, and then the next thing is the KPA, which is proprietary, which is that, plus it also evaluates things like your cognitive thinking and your ability to solve problems and so on. And it matches.
Yeah. You'll be non-drinker.
Unbelievable.
The biggest man in real estate.
The thing is, Andrew doesn't even drink. That's the funny part about it. So the thing about the KPA that's quite interesting is it actually takes somebody's personality traits and skill sets and matches them to a specific role, right? So you're finding great success with that?
Yeah, so it's actually it's pretty bang on, especially when they send you that front sheet that says, 98% this, 97% this, 1% this, and so with agents, it really does matter. This stuff isn't a joke. Like people's personality comes out with the questions they ask them, and it's incredible to me. Like so, when you're looking for a great agent, I mean, a D is a closer, right? Like they're fast, but not necessarily the best for a team because they want to be in charge. So even though they make a great agent, not necessarily a great buyer's agent or a great team member,
right? Because
they need to be on top. And so it does matter. So it depends what we're hiring and who we're hiring. I've made bad hires and nobody, like the stuff that a bad hire could do. I remember once we had an admin assistant and she was batshit crazy, you guys. She worked here first. So in her infinite wisdom, she decides she's quitting, which is fine, good. Like on your way, when people leave me, like we leave as friends. Like I don't need that karma. So anyway, she decided to wipe out a whole bunch of stuff before she left, and that, so, you know, when somebody does that to you, they cripple you. So you can't even put a price on that.
Right.
So be very careful with who you let in your systems, and for God's sakes, get LastPass.
Yes.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanna talk about accountability and how you hold yourself accountable and how you hold, if you have a team, your team accountable. I'm gonna start with you, Kate. How do you hold yourself accountable?
Well, going back to the DISC test, I'm pretty driven. I really, at times probably have to hold myself back, because I'm like that animal that can just keep eating. I can just keep working.
Yeah,
So,
I had a joke there, and I'm letting it go. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, thank you very much.
No, I really can. You know, I chart goals.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I'm listening. I am.
They just got it.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes time, but they're good when you get it. Go ahead, Kate. Sorry. Go
I
ahead.
chart goals.
Chart goals. I think you use a whiteboard too, right?
I do. So I have a whiteboard in my office, looks much like this, and on that board I have a set of goals. I also have a set of individuals I'm currently working with. I'm very visual. I need to see things.
Yeah.
This explains my spreadsheets and need to see things visually. I'm very visual. If you came to my office, you would see that I've got a whiteboard, goals are there. I have a vision board, and on that vision board I have exactly what, you know, my financial goals are, or perhaps something I want to treat myself to at the end of the year. And it's amazing. I take a picture of that every year, and I go back over the years, and you would be amazed. Those vision boards, they really do work.
You know, that's a pretty cool thing. I remember when I started in real estate, I had a car that still had a carburetor, right? And I had to start the car by taking the lid off the air filter thing and using a set of pliers and a screwdriver to hold open the choke to start the car. So when I was doing showings in the summertime, I'd leave the car running all the time. And my clients would say, "What are you doing?" I said, "I want it to be nice and cool for you when you come out of the house." And then, yeah, this is totally true. And then I'm gonna bring it full circle to your vision board. And then in the winter, I would, like, if I was going on a listing or something too, I'd park around the corner because I couldn't let those people see me, you know, starting the car with my pliers, which I kept in the car, and my screwdriver. So on my vision board, my first year was just to buy. I'd never had a new car, so it was to, and I remember I bought, ready, a Mercury Sable.
Yeah, you did.
Right. Brown Mercury Sable, man. I was the cock of the walk. The point I'm trying to make, though, is what's on your vision board, and what's such a huge accomplishment at the beginning of your career or whatever, is when you look back on it, it's like, oh my God, that's not such a big deal now. But how cool is it to be able to reflect on some of those things and realize how you've progressed? Because we're so caught up in it, sometimes it's difficult to reflect on those things unless you have big milestones like that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. How about you, Peggy? Keeping yourself and your team accountable.
So my payroll is about just over $500,000 a year, so that pretty much will get you out of bed like 6:30.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I know I have 2 grandchildren, so that'll get you up a little bit earlier as well.
Right.
I've never had a problem holding myself accountable or working hard, because I just find this industry to be like such a blessing in my life. Like I've come from an industry where I would work all day, and some weeks we didn't even make enough to pay bills, so you'd have to take money out of your account to keep it going.
Sure.
So then I got into real estate, and I'm grateful for every day I've had in here. It's given my children an education. It's given my husband a pretty nice damn truck. My parents money in the bank for the first time in their lives. So, you know, I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be part of this business, and that's what keeps me going. And I love it.
And you know, it's wonderful because you're so real.
He does have a really nice truck.
I know, yeah. I know, because when I circle your house, waiting for the invite, I pass that truck over and over and over again.
Internet in his freaking truck.
Internet in his truck, for real? Yeah, okay.
You're accountable to yourself, obviously.
I am.
You're driven.
Yes.
How do you keep your team members?
So Jennifer's question is, okay, so we get how you're accountable to yourself. How do you keep your team driven and accountable?
So, So, in all honesty, if you're not producing, and I lead by example, so I'm not one to, you know, talk the talk and not walk the walk. So they know, like, this is your standard, and we coach on it all the time. And if they're not meeting their goals, to me, if you're gonna be on a team, you have to do a certain amount of deals. Not because I expect them, but because it's a waste of your time otherwise.
It's also you're helping them be their best self.
100%.
What's your minimum then to stay on the team?
24. And again, 24 is not a lot of deals, because if you're gonna be on a team and give somebody else half of your money and 75% of what you're making, you kinda gotta do at least 24 deals to make it worthwhile. So it's not a thing of mine.
No.
And that's how I explain it to people. If you're gonna be on this team, you gotta make money, otherwise you might as well just be a single agent, sell 3 houses, you come around with the same amount left over, right? But, so the culture matters, and that's why it's very important when you're hiring people to hire the right people, and people with integrity and with grit. Grit's a big word around our office, so the culture matters, and leading by example. I think leading by example is the #1 thing that matters, because my agents don't think I'm this lazy chick that vacations in Mexico. They see me in there every day. I get in there before them. I'm there until late at night. So I think leading by example is a big one.
And I want to talk about a word you said. The word was standard. So here's the thing. I would encourage you that if you're hiring somebody and you're building a team, it's never about the relationship. The conversations are about the standard. So for example, if I was hiring Colin.
Why would you?
I know.
Why would you?
I don't even know which question to answer first. So if I was hiring Colin, despite what seems, why would you? I would meet with Colin and say, okay, here, I want to go through a standards list that you know we've talked a little bit about, that defines what the key things that we need to hit in order for you to be successful and for the team to be successful. So I'd have an itemized list, and we go through, and Colin and I would both initial every one of those items. And then at a later time, if there was some issues, let's say with performance or whatever, I would get together with Colin and say, look, you know I love you. This is not about the relationship. It's about the standard that we both agreed to at the beginning of this. And in my opinion, I don't really see this item and this item really firing as hot as it should be. What are your thoughts? So you always make it about the standard, not about the relationship, because that goes a long way. And if you have that buy-in at the beginning in writing, it really makes a big difference, right? Kristina, how about you? Holding yourself accountable.
My thing is I'm really big on vision boards as well. I grew up with a single mom who, you know, she worked her ass off really to be where she is, and I grew up looking at her thinking, she did all this, and she created this, she raised 3 kids on her own, I want to do that. I mean, I want to do it alone, I don't want 3 kids, but I want to know at the end of the day that I created something because I could. And so really, it's similar to, you know, what they said is I hold myself accountable, because there's places I want to be, and I've got these aspirations and these goals, and the only person that's going to get me there is myself. And now that I've got 2 little girls, I want to teach them things too. So little things that I do is I do a vision board, which is for myself, and it's pretty incredible. You know, 6 months goes by and you don't look at it, and I look back at it and I think, wow, I had these goals at the beginning of the year, and I wanted to achieve them by the end, and I'm 6 months in, and I've already passed them because I put those out there. And I'm a really big believer in what you put out, you will get back, and it might not be instant, but be patient, because if you are who you are every day and you continually, you know, practice what you preach, it will come back. So I do these vision boards, and then also I'm trying to teach these things to my girls who are young, and every night we do these sticker boards for my daughter, and to teach her things, I have one for myself. So they don't mean much to her, but it just makes me more aware of I've got to do it. So we have a little thing for her. She gets stickers if she helped with her dishes, or, you know, she ate dinner before her dessert. But then mom has them too. So did mommy make phone calls today? I get a sticker. And, you know, without forcing that on my daughter, I don't know if I would do it, but it's just a great way to have family time for me, but also have that incorporated into business.
It's interesting, right? Because when you have to show your daughter that you can't put that sticker on there, that's painful, right? You can't do it.
You know, and there's a lot of tears, but there's times mommy should shed some tears too for not doing her stickers, but it's a great way to, you know, visually put things out there, even if you're not a really visual person. It's really incredible when you put it out there and you're kind of manifesting this this goal or these things that you want to achieve. If you put it out there and you have to go back and look at it and see it, it's a reminder of, you know, I've got to make my phone calls, or I've got to be out more, I've got to show my face more, and you will start doing it.
Pretty cool.
So be careful what you wish for.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to talk about mindset, because that's something we all talk about all the time, and it's very important in any industry, in any profession. So how do you guard your mindset? Let's start with you, Peggy.
I drink a lot of wine.
Nice. That's great. Yeah, they're all going to get more wine now. That guy said, listen, I'm new in the business, I'm going to go get some wine.
I always check in with my husband, and I always say, if you feel like I'm an alcoholic, you need to say something.
By the way, I got bad news for you. This is actually an intervention. Yeah. We were leading up to this moment.
And here we are. I do listen to a lot of stuff. Tony Robbins being the biggest thing. I try to listen to something every single day. Not a day goes by where I'm not listening to something that is gonna, because we take, as a woman, especially in this industry, we like to take on a lot of people's garbage. And in order to get rid of that garbage, you need to cleanse your mind. And the only way I have found to do it is through wine and there you go. All right. Who knew? How about you, Kristina? Is that wine and Tony Robbins for you too? Or?
It's gonna be. Seems to be working okay. You know what, I try to just really disconnect from negativity, because negativity really, really it drains you. And I think a lot of people can relate. You take on a lot of your clients' problems. So right now we're seeing a tough time in real estate for clients. Houses are sitting for a lot longer, and they have these expectations, and that can really eat at you if you you get off these phone calls. These people, they're worried and they're stressed, and I used to just take that all with me, and that will start to really eat at you, and your time that you set for yourself is going to be ruined because you're going to be miserable. Which will then translate into business too. So for me, it's all about staying positive, because as much as there is negative in the world, there's more positive. You just have to be the one that sees it. And when people are going through a negative time, you're actually supposed to be the one that's bringing brightness to them. So I look at it as an opportunity when I feel negative or I see negative, instead of sometimes walking away from it, I actually try and step in front of it. And instead of walking away to protect myself, I step in and I try and enlighten their life a little bit too. Because that can make things different. And I'm heavily involved in charity. A really big one is a local charity that's called You Speak. It's for children that are suffering from mental illness, drug abuse, whatever it may be. And that can be draining too, being involved in something like that, and hearing these horrific stories, and hearing these kids that are going through such a tough and dark time is hard. But it all is on your perspective. Such is life. You can be involved and see the good in that, and walking away and saying, okay, I contributed to this charity and I changed a kid's life in a little bit, or I had a conversation that maybe they'll go home and feel better because they met me, instead of walking away and saying, oh my God, I heard all these horrific stories today.
So it's a choice, right?
It's
Mindset's
all
a choice.
Everything is a choice.
It is a choice. Yeah. Kate, how do you guard your mindset?
I like Peggy's answer.
Wine.
Wine.
We should have just.
Okay.
I do love wine.
Anything other than wine, or?
No, I know.
No. Next question. Next question.
No, I think as far as your mindset, it's really up to us to set your mindset. I've always said, and I know we had this conversation, happiness is a choice. You can choose to be happy or not, and it really is, regardless of how dark the day is, how difficult the task is, how many negative people you're surrounded with. It really is a choice. So you're either happy or you're not, and I hope you choose to be happy, because it's just the better way to be. It's definitely my choice.
Okay. I'm gonna go one more question, okay, in the interest of time, and then we'll see if anybody has any questions for our awesome panel. Last question, interesting question. I'm gonna start with, let's start with Jennifer, which is not here. I'm gonna start with you, Kristina. What's your prediction for the real estate market for the remainder of 2018 and for 2019? We'll see how this ties into mindset. It'll be interesting. Go ahead.
You know, I think we're in a, some people would say, oh my gosh, from last year, things are just so crazy. Really, they're not. When I'm sitting down, for me personally, when I'm sitting down with seller clients right now, I'm saying, listen, we live in an incredible place. We are so blessed to live where we live. And if we can take out 2017, which was, you know, just a crazy time in real estate, we can just remove that and take a look at 2014 to where we are now. If we remove that, we are steadily going up, and we're in a great place. So if you can wrap your head around just removing this and take a look at my chart without 2017, we're in a great place. We're in a great position. So I think we're going to be in a steady market, a healthy market, as long as your expectations are realistic.
It's interesting you say that, because we had a team meeting, yeah. So people in our office saw this. I'm going to just draw it behind you. So this is a chart that I would use if you're talking to your team, if you just need it in front of you as sort of an affirmation, or you're talking to a client or potential clients. So this is what we've seen. Oh, not this tall, but anyway. It's not funny. Okay.
Nice Joey.
Here's the interesting thing about this for our market. That trajectory is still correct. So the trajectory that we're on is still correct. 2017 is the anomaly. And when people, just like you said, right? Just like you said, when you take 2017 out of the equation, we are exactly where we're supposed to be. And it is the only investment in the history of mankind that always goes up. It's the only investment that you can live in and actually benefit from and still use it as an investment, right? It's the cornerstone of everyone's wealth. And we have to stop looking at the anomaly and actually look at history. So that's the trajectory that we're on, and it's perfectly normal. So I would be drawing that chart and using something like that, maybe a little neater than how I drew it, but in those meetings, because it really does clarify for everybody what's going on.
You know, I just want to touch on that. I drew something very similar to a client who, before I never met them, they kept telling me their house was worth something on the phone, and I thought, do I really want to go to this listing?
Right.
And I went, and I said to myself, I'm just going to draw it. Because people, visually, if you put it out there, how can they?
Right.
They can't argue with it. And I did. I put it out, and he just looked at me and he said, huh, out of 4 agents I've interviewed, nobody has done anything like that for me. This makes sense. And it does. And at the end of the day, too, I say to people, what are your goals of buying and selling real estate? Are you an investor? That might be a bit different. But we all need somewhere to live.
Right.
So whether you buy your house and maybe it goes down a little bit, are you going to live there? Are you staying there?
Right.
Because you're still paying towards something and paying something off. If you're renting a house, you're paying the same. Like you're giving it to somebody else. At the end of the day, everybody needs to live somewhere.
Right. It's pretty cool, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And that chart.
It's a great chart, right? Yeah. By the way, I want a referral because that chart's mine. I think I deserve, right? Yeah.
TM.
TM, yes.
TM.
Or with the circle. Kate, prediction for the rest of the year and 2019.
I wish I had a crystal ball, but you know what, I subscribe to this. I think, you know, this is a really good example when sellers ask me, you know, well, my house would have been worth this, and I say, look, you know what, or when they talk negative about the current market, I say, you know what, last year was probably the best thing that could have happened to us. You know, every single paper, every single publication for 10 years has been predicting a bubble in Toronto, and I say, congratulations, we had it. It was last year, January, February, March, April, and now it's over. And I said, you know, had you have sold your property then and not purchased, you won the lottery. It would have been great timing. But chances are, for most individuals, they have to buy and sell in the same market, so it really does become a wash. One of the fortunate things, especially for us in the room here, is that we're out of that really hectic market where it was really difficult for us to even put any business together. You know, I think once this is flushed out, once we're in a position where both sellers and buyers are now more realistic, we're all gonna have a better time at this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just gonna make our life a lot easier. So I think going forward, again, we really need to get to a point in the market, and there is a seasonality to our market, of course. It'll be interesting to see how this summer goes. But I think once all parties become realistic and, you know, sort of understand better, you know, that we've flushed all of that out of the system, we're gonna be back on this trajectory.
That's a good point. Now, I like that perspective. I'm gonna do one more drawing. So, just because I didn't get a referral in the last one, and I'm fishing for a referral here. So, it's interesting. When people talk about what's the peak of the market, am I selling at the right time? Here's the drawing I would use. I get a piece of paper and I go like this. I want you to tell me when we've hit the peak of the market. And I would just keep drawing. And then eventually you do this. Because the truth of the matter is, until you get to this point here where the market starts to turn downward, you don't know where the peak is. Right? So you could draw that line, it's very effective on a piece of paper. Tell me when we get to the peak of the market. Nobody knows until the market starts to turn down. So those are both mine, all referrals. Marvin Alexander at kw.com is one of my email addresses. You can just send the referrals in there. But all kidding aside, like that's very powerful to show people. And to your point, if someone's buying or selling in the same market, it's a wash, right?
I'd like to add to all of us in the room too. I think this is such an incredible opportunity for realtors to really start to shine, because I think it has been the easiest business for the last 2 years to slide in, do a couple deals without really putting much effort into it. Collecting a paycheck and that's it. And I think it's a really, really great time to start to shine, to add value. This is the time that we need to show clients, you need us.
Right, and take market share that you won't ever relinquish again, right? Last word's yours, Peggy. 2018, 2019.
Okay, I'm not as nice as these guys. I hate this shitty market. I really do. Sucks balls.
Ball sucking.
Right? So now that I got that off my chest.
How you feeling? Feel better?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Have a glass of wine.
That is exactly
Have a
the
glass.
opposite of how we were raised.
I honestly hate this. I hate this because it happens so fast. And it's not that I don't get what's going on. I freaking get what's going on. Explain it to the moron I'm sitting across from. They're like, well, my neighbor got this 6 months ago. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you. Why is no one coming to my open house? I don't know. They're just not coming. So it's really hard. Plus, I took a 30% wage cut. I got a raise last year, and now I'm going to take a cut? That sucks. But I'll tell you something. I'm upset about this market, but I use my anger in good ways, because I have to get more market share this year to make my numbers, and I don't go backwards. I will never go backwards. I've been in real estate for 15 years, and every year I've had a better year than the last year. Obviously, when we go through what we went through, I should have a pretty shitty year this year. It's not gonna happen. If I have to get on the street and pound the pavement and sell houses again, I will do it, because I will not go backwards. And I told my team that, we're not going backwards. So either you sell more houses, we get more market share, or I'll hire more people. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but it's gonna happen.
Pretty cool. All right. Okay. So I know it's been a really action-packed, busy night. First of all, how was the panel? How was it? Woo! All right. Okay. We'll take a couple of questions. Anybody at the back?
So first of all, I want to thank all you ladies for being super duper honest and showing that, because it's easy for everyone else on the outside to say, well, why am I not at that level? Or why is that not happening to me? You shared your humanity to say you have challenges too, which gets us to say our challenges are just excuses, like box and throw aside and keep going like Peggy suggested. My question is, how are you coping when you're saying about your clients or when they're looking back, I have a few new clients, and it's disturbing me because they're counting on me to deliver. These aren't repeat referral where they're like, okay, we know it's the market. These are people we're new with you, we trusted you, we know the market's quiet, we've relisted, and here we still are. They feel like sellers right now, and you've experienced it, sellers feel they've come as far down as they can. Buyers are telling us they've come as high as they can with some of the new lending policy. So there's a little bit of a disconnect. What would you do? You're across from that seller now. I get the charts, but when that's not enough for them,
I know.
So
I get it, and this is why I hate the market, because as salespeople, we love people, and we wanna make people happy. And all we've done this year is disappoint people, and it's really, really difficult to take that home with you every night. So you just have to be honest, and the one thing I tell my agents every single day is like, if you're not talking to your clients, somebody else is, because you're talking to somebody. So the only piece of advice I can give you is try and educate them as much as you can. In order to do that, you have to educate yourself. So you gotta know what you're talking about. So when you do know what you're talking about, then be calling them, whether you're calling them once a day or once every 2 days. If you're not talking to them, I guarantee you they're calling somebody else because they're frustrated. So the only thing you can share with them are the actual stats and what's actually happening in this marketplace.
thank you.
Wow, excellent. Anna?
My question is to Kate. You mentioned when you talked at the beginning that you have 2 spreadsheets for every listing. What is number 1 and number 2?
Okay, good question. So I have one spreadsheet that has an itemized list of all the leads as they come in and where they came from.
On that particular listing?
On one spreadsheet. So one spreadsheet will read, the name, their contact details, and whether they came through MLS or a Keller Williams site or my own personal website, or whether they came through an open house. But I'll know exactly where that came from. A separate one for an open house. So I've got a separate, so there's one for internet, one for open houses. So again, I know where everyone's come from.
And a little further to your spreadsheet, what systems do you all use then? Like, is it Follow Up Boss, Top Producer? What actual database system is it that you've used? Have you used ones and switched over? Share that.
I use Top Producer. It's a good system. I don't know if it's great. I'd probably use it to the best of its ability. It does have feathers in it, does have challenges, but yeah, I use Top Producer.
How about you? What do you use?
I just got an Excel sheet.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Shoebox.
Well, we started with Top Producer, and it just depends on the size of your team. So Follow Up Boss is, and I've tried many of them, and Follow Up Boss is kind of the only, right now, it's the best possible alternative for people with bigger teams. And if you're going to grow your team, you got to grow it. Like, you got to invest in something like that. I know what's coming out from Keller Williams. I know there's something better coming out, so I'm patiently waiting. But it's very difficult to take 20 people who are not admin, who are salespeople, and say, okay, so today we're gonna learn this new database. And they're like, what? Yeah. It's hard.
It is hard.
I know what you're saying.
Jennifer?
So, question on the book you would most highly recommend, but in particular categories. So for you, leadership, for you, negotiation, and I would say for you on building relationships. So what books would you recommend?
So I'm gonna repeat, so we're gonna hear. So Jennifer's asking if you could recommend a book on a specific category. So for Peggy, it was leadership. And
Kate's negotiation.
Kate's negotiation, okay. And Kristina's
Christina on relationships.
on relationships.
Yeah.
Do you have a book you'd recommend in each of those categories?
I just finished reading, I'm trying to think of the name of the book. It was very good. It was a very good book.
Okay.
How was it called? It's on my phone, can I look?
Yeah, you can look.
Absolutely.
What I don't know the answer to that. I don't want to make something up for you.
That's okay.
I don't know.
But if you have like a favorite business book or something you've read that really
I listen to Audible. Does anybody else have
Yeah.
Audible?
Yeah.
That's all I do is I listen. My husband makes fun of me because he's like,
So-
listening to another
I
book.
don't think it's one thing.
The one thing?
It's not just one thing for me. No, it's not one thing. For me, it's just continuously hearing different things and taking what you need from it. Because I don't think one thing, if I've said to you this works, it
No.
would really resonate for anybody.
It's more though, like, one book
What do I
you've read
take
that's
away?
had a really big impact.
I think
Like,
if I could answer a book
Yeah.
that you would really be interested in, some people in the room have read it, and I can't
Right.
remember her name, but I would go with Fierce Conversations. for
Fierce
me.
that one,
Conversation, yeah.
That is probably the book to read. I didn't think it was dry. I thought it was really good, actually. I enjoyed it. It's called
Fierce Conversation.
And do you remember the author of Fierce Conversation? Susan.
Yeah, something.
I loved it. We'll come up with it. And it's a great book. And in fact, if I had a team, I'd have everybody in the team read the book.
Yeah,
And I would
Peggy.
make it more fun than Michael made it. That's okay. It's okay.
Okay, got my book.
What's your book?
Okay,
Michael has some
so,
really great books.
couple ones.
Yeah.
So if you're building a team, Traction and Rocket Fuel, unbelievable. Both of those books are amazing, and follow them to the T. This other book I just finished, a summary of, it's called The 5-Second Rule with Mel Robbins. That just blew me away. Like, that lady was phenomenal. Even just YouTuber and just listen to her 1 hour spiel. 5-second rule. So basically what she got at is that your brain has 5 seconds before, so your brain's always going to pleasure. So you got 5 seconds to stop it from pain. So if you want to get out of bed, she kept saying how she used the snooze alarm. So because if you get out of bed within that 5 seconds, you're good. If you stay past that 5 seconds, your brain will take you away from pain to pleasure, so you hit the snooze and you stay.
and you can relate that to even like lead gen.
Everything,
Get it in 5 seconds.
everything,
Picking up the
everything.
phone. I
Pick
love
up the
it.
phone to talk to your
Thank you.
client, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Love it. Thank you.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. I'd like to read that myself. Kate, do you have anything for
Mel
yours?
Robbins.
I do, yeah.
All right. And for Kate,
A book called 3D Negotiations.
Sorry, what's it called?
it's called 3D Negotiations.
The author is Sabinus. He's actually a Harvard law professor, a phenomenal individual. If ever you can get into one of his lectures and listen
What's
to
his
him.
name?
Last name is Sabinus.
Sabinus?
Yeah, Sabinus.
Okay. Pretty cool.
Marvin, I think only you can hear.
Okay. So,
Sorry, guys.
Sabina.
It's okay.
go ahead.
3D Negotiations, written by a professor at Harvard Law School, and just a phenomenal individual. He's not been a professor his whole life. He's been out in the venture capital world, putting multi-billion-dollar deals together, and he's just got a phenomenal mind for looking at something that looks absolutely impossible and saying, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. He's just got a brilliant mind for putting things together. It's a really good book.
Pretty cool.
Kristina, Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott.
Susan Scott, that's who it is. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Anybody else before we wrap up? Going once, going twice. I want to thank each and every one of you for your time and your commitment to learning and sharing. And I definitely want to thank our amazing panel. Well, we have something for each of the panel members, right?